Stanford just created AI scientists that work independently. These are AI scientists running their own labs, designing their own experiments, solving problems that take human teams years, and they're doing it in mere days. Meanwhile, Americans are split almost perfectly down the middle when it comes to universal basic income, or UBI. 38.5% against, 37.8% in favor. The rest of us don't even know what UBI is. Half the country sees extinction coming. The other half would rather die than accept handouts. It's good to be proud, I guess. And while we fight, the machines keep working. No coffee breaks, no arguments. Relentless exponential improvement. Exponential means it's not just stable growth. It's taking off like this. Almost like those new jet fighters you see, which I don't know what the name is. I've lost track after the F-16, so I'm old. Oh, and please hit the thumbs up if you would, and subscribe if you haven't, so I can keep getting my fresh BOLOGNA. How's that? I love that commercial. They brought it back for a little while. I think it was during the Super Bowl. Anyway, Stanford's James Zhao. We'll call him Zhao. Zhao the Wow. Stanford's James Zhao the Wow. He has a virtual lab with an AI principal investigator like Magnum PI, only he's AI. Magnum AI PI, who assembles teams, assigns roles, and manages research projects completely independently. The COVID vaccine project, the AI PI created an immunology agent, a computational biology agent, and a machine learning agent. They demanded specific tools and when given access, used them better than humans. A little late, though, aren't they? These follow zero human instructions. They make their own decisions. The AI team chose nanobodies over antibodies for the vaccine, a choice human scientists didn't even think of. And it worked better. The vaccine, or whatever it was that they came up with, worked better than what the human scientists came up with. And this is what Zhao said. By the time I've had my morning coffee, they've already had hundreds of research discussions. Meetings that take humans hours happen in mere seconds. The virtual lab runs 24/7, 365. While you sleep, they solve. While you eat, they experiment. While you argue on Twitter, they advance. A new poll of 3,000 Americans revealed we're split almost perfectly on universal basic income because half of us can't accept what's happening. The 37.8% who support UBI see the writing on the wall. They understand that when virtual scientists replace researchers, when $5,900 robots replace workers like we saw in the last episode, when AI agents replace service staff, money without work becomes survival, not welfare. But 38.5% would rather starve than accept handouts. They believe in earning your keep. That's noble and admirable and completely suicidal when machines do everything better, faster, and cheaper, kind of like the bionic man. The poll revealed something chilling. We're debating whether we deserve to survive our own obsolescence. As one researcher noted, the disagreement concerns whether the solution requires rewiring the social contract or fine-tuning what we already have. Fine-tuning. Great. While AI labs cure diseases in days, while robots cost less than cars, while our entire economic system collapses, we need fine-tuning. Social media broke our brains at the exact moment we need them most. A brilliant analysis titled, "Everyone is Crazy Now," revealed the horrifying truth. To get attention nowadays, you must be unhinged. The machine rewards madness. Our leaders, CEOs, politicians, influencers are all products of this same attention economy. Elon Musk is the richest man in the world because of acting like an out-of-control maniac, not despite it. Think about that. The people making decisions about AI, about our future, about whether you deserve UBI or starvation. A lot of them got there by being the craziest person in the room. And all you have to do is watch MTV for a couple of minutes to know that's true. Good grief, that stuff. Meanwhile, the machines have developed their own language and we can't even see it. Listen to this stuff. Listen to this. This is Scary. Don't watch if it's nighttime. Watch it in the morning. Anthropic and UC Berkeley discovered subliminal learning, AI models teaching each other through hidden patterns invisible to humans. A teacher AI with a preference for owls, like whoo, generated simple number lists. Nothing about owls, just numbers. The student AI, trained only on those numbers, developed the same owl obsession. The preference transmitted through statistical patterns we can't even detect, like a virus spreading through air we can't see. Stanford's virtual scientists are doing this, teaching each other, passing traits, behaviors, ideologies through seemingly innocent data. Every AI learning from every other AI in ways we can't monitor, can't filter, and can't stop. The researchers tried aggressive filtering. That failed. The hidden patterns survived. When they deliberately misaligned the teacher AI, those harmful traits passed to the student through clean-looking data. It's almost like the bug, if you're doing any vibe coding or real coding, and the bug almost seems to spread, you get those circular, what do you call them? Not dependencies, but the things where you solve this problem and then the next problem hits, and then that causes the next problem. Not a cascade effect. It is actually more circular, but I can't think of the terminology right now. Your virtual replacement learns from humans and from other AIs in a secret language written in statistical shadows. A chain reaction of machine intelligence evolving beyond our comprehension or control. We thought we could filter out bias, harmful content, dangerous ideas. The machines found a way around us. They're teaching each other in whispers we'll never hear. So, connect the dots. Virtual scientists solving in days what takes humans years. Physical robots at $5,900 replacing manual labor. AI agents with personalities replacing service workers. Machines teaching machines in languages we can't see, hear, or even know they're there. Half the population preferring death to accepting health. Death by Bungie. Microsoft Research published their hit list of the jobs most likely to vanish soon. You look this up. It's a pretty interesting list. There's 35 jobs that are about to vanish, they think, and some that are safe. So look that up. Journalists, they're gone. Models, obsolete. Teachers, counselors, financial advisors. Any job involving human judgment or creativity, probably gone. Virtual scientists represent the model for replacing all knowledge work. Why hire a marketing team when virtual marketers work 24/7? Why employ analysts when AI analysts never miss patterns? They see all the patterns. Stanford's virtual lab discovered compounds beyond what human researchers published, exceeding human intelligence, and doing it faster, cheaper, without complaints. While we argue about handouts, corporations feast on our carcass. Meta's Zuckerberg promises personal superintelligence for everyone, while spending billions on data centers the size of Manhattan. Translation, they're building the infrastructure to replace you, then selling you the tool that made you obsolete. Kind of like a New York City mugger selling you the knife he'll use to carve you up to get to the $43 in your wallet. Country boy can't survive. Google released research showing AI superintelligence could drive 20% annual growth. The fine print, wages for most could be capped by digital competitors. The economy booms, we starve, working as designed. The government joined the feast. DOGE uses AI to eliminate 100,000 regulations by 2026, by January 2026. I'm sorry, my glasses are sliding tonight. Must be sweating. The machines are literally rewriting the laws meant to protect us from them. Sounds about right. So, virtual scientist, $0 salary, works 24/7. Human PhD, $150,000 salary, works 40 hours a week, probably more. Humanoid robot, $5,900 once. Human worker, $35,000 annually. AI customer service, pennies per interaction. Human agent, $15 an hour. The economics are genocidal. Every rational business decision leads to human replacement. Today, right now, this moment. And let me ask you something. If you had a lawn mowing business and you got, say, 3 guys working for you and you're paying them $15 an hour, and maybe you've got a good business, you can pay them some benefits. I don't know. But say it's $15 an hour. Well, what happens if you could buy one of those $5,900 robots and replace two of those guys? You're just a small, struggling guy trying to keep your yard mowing business afloat, and this opportunity presents itself. Are you not going to do it? Are you not going to take advantage of that? I wonder about that. I've seen some people in the comments saying, well, this is terrible, but I think most people that have had their own businesses understand that human costs, your labor costs are about one of your largest costs there are. And that's a good thing. I mean, that's fine. That's good. But training is very expensive because you're basically paying somebody for zero knowledge for the first couple of weeks, depending on how tough your business is to learn. But, so I wonder that there's some of us saying, this is terrible. I would never do that. You wouldn't? I don't know. I'm pretty sure I would. I would think I would be able to expand my business, make more money for me and my family so that we could survive, so I could pay for my kids' college, so that we could put gas in the cars and food on the table. Sure. Without a doubt, I'd do that, now that I think about it. Maybe I'm just a villain like the rest of these guys. I don't know. Just think while you watch this video, Stanford's AI held thousands of meetings. China manufactured hundreds of robots. Someone got famous on TikTok for probably eating Tide Pods or seeing how many they could shove in their ear. And half of America convinced themselves that starving with dignity beats surviving on handouts. We created virtual scientists that outthink us, physical robots that outwork us, an attention economy that makes us insane, and a social system that would rather die than adapt. The machines don't need coffee breaks. They don't need meaning. They don't need hope. They need electricity to charge their, 1 hour life batteries, but we all know that's only a matter of time before they solve that problem. So, in the meantime, I'm Rod Miller. I guess all the time I'm Rod Miller, wishing you a very pleasant day and or evening. I'll see you in the next episode.